Today, we want to talk about what you represent, which is the MoneyMax account. Guys, if
Mhm.
you have not heard me talk about the MoneyMax account, you're missing out. And the reason, and just to, it just popped in my head, my chosen son actually stepped into the MoneyMax last night. And he was so super excited because he too has some struggles when it comes to the credit scores, when it comes to getting the lines of credit. And I could not even help him to get set up. So when we did the analysis on that MoneyMax account, 5 years, Bill, 5 years. And he thought he was stuck in his mortgage for another 29 years because he's only been
Right,
in it for a year.
right.
Gosh, tell me a little bit about what let's just talk about first off what piece you see coming to people when you do these personal analysis and what it looks like from your point of view.
Well, people often ask, Bill, what is it that you do? And I simply say I'm a merchant of hope,
Beautiful.
because that's what this thing does. When we go through the process and it's totally non invasive, complimentary, we can provide them with a 2-page report that shows them exactly their debt free date. And that is huge for people because one of the biggest comments I hear from people that I work with and sit down with is, Bill, I am tired of thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm worn down. I don't know what to do when I have an extra 50 bucks or 100 bucks. What do I do with it? How do I work with the debt that I have? And that's what we bring, not only a sense of peace, but a sense of order to their finances in a way that they've never seen before.
That is a beautiful way to put it. I never had thought of that before, but it is bringing order.
Mhm.
Because I remember even in my own situation, I felt like it was chaos all the time. I didn't even have extra money to put on debt, and if I did, we're talking less than $50 a month. So when I have people come to me, that are even in a negative cash flow, I have seen you guys completely flip that world upside down, and just give people a piece that was just, you can't even believe it. So this past weekend, not only did I meet you, but I met John Washenko, who is also the creator of the MoneyMax
Mhm.
account. I get so excited when I say that because I do not feel worthy to be in his presence because he has such a great mind that they being he and his partner would sit down and actually come up with a tool that people can use that costs next thing to nothing compared to what their debt is costing them. And
Right.
this beautiful product or tool or whatever you want to call it that is changing people's lives that I didn't even know about until last year. He is such a pleasure to sit and speak with and just watch the ideas roll off of his mind, and how they came up with this product that is helping people to eliminate debt so much faster than you ever thought was possible. Tell me a little bit about a personal analysis. What does that look like when you sit down with a person? What do they need to bring to the table when they meet with you?
Basically, the way I like to meet with people, the first get together, and typically on Zoom, is I call it a discovery call. And what we're trying to discover is this a good system for them? Is this a good fit for them? So I want to find out a little bit about them, what they've done in the past. Just have a conversation about what's your frustrations. Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself? I always ask the question, how many years until you're debt free? And I remember just a week ago, a gentleman said, well, it's going to be my life insurance policy. It's taking care of that. It's like,
Oh,
What?
yeah.
That's not a plan."
No.
Um, and and so that whole process of finding out their personal savings report and developing that is We just meet, have a great conversation. If it makes sense, I take the MoneyMax account for a test drive, show them a little bit about what it can do and how easy it is. If it makes sense, we move to the next step. I send them a form, 1-page form typically, except for my guy who had 36 credit cards. He needed 5 forms. Yeah,
Wow.
36. Um,
Wow.
but it's no account numbers. It's not invasive.
Right.
What's your income structure, debt structure, expense structure, and then what's that cash flow? Whether it's $1, $100, or 500 or 1,000, doesn't matter. But we'll put it into the system. We get back together and we go through what is your debt costing you, because people have no idea how much are you spending every month on interest. And
Yeah.
wouldn't it be better to have that money work in your bank account as opposed to paying your banker? Because many people are not only paying for their house, they're buying the mortgage company a house as well, and they don't know this.
Right. I didn't know this. I didn't know this. I didn't realize that that amortization schedule is set up to feed the bank first. I never
Yeah.
had understood that before. And when I learned that, of course, I was so in deep with other debt that I had to work my way up to the mortgage because I did not know about MoneyMax. Um,
Mhm.
but the fact is that when I learned what the amortization schedule did, I started sharing that, with family members, because I'm like, did you know that they have this set up to where, you're paying a whole lot of interest at the very front of these loans? And everybody, I literally heard people say to me, well, that's what you have to do to buy a home. That's
Right.
what you have to do. So when
Hmm.
I learned how to use lines of credit and started realizing that you could take a line at a higher interest rate, it seems, like if your home is at 3% and then you get a 10% line of credit, that seems kind of dumb that, like, oh, well, let's switch. No, that's not what we're doing here. You're chunking onto that mortgage principal to jump that schedule. And that's really hard for people to understand because we
Hmm.
weren't taught about the schedule. But what MoneyMax comes in and does is eliminates interest. So, that's mind boggling that the software has been set up in an algorithm to eliminate the interest down to about an average of 2%. About that?
No, that's exactly what it does. And by focusing on the debt, and one of the uh, key banking principles is strategic payoff. And I ask people all the time, when I talk to people, I say, well, how many debts do you have? And on average, it's 8 to 10.
Wow. Yeah.
And if a person thinks, well, I'll just do this myself, and let's just say they have 8 items: mortgage, 2 car loans, some credit cards, right? Well, with 8 items, you could formulate a list, the order that you're going to pay those debts off, 40,320 different ways, I think is the number. So, and if you go to 10, it's 3.6 million.
Wow.
So, how could you figure out the one way, the right order? And then if you spent all that time and machinations getting to that, and then you get a notice that your credit card company just lowered or raised its interest rate by a quarter of a point, that just renders that whole list moot. It's not going to work. It's
Right.
different. And that's the beauty of the Money Max account. It moves with you.